to start this video like 2 months back, but here we are. And you may be asking yourself, is 1 month enough time to turn her into Elphaba?
No!
Well, I have a question for you. When are you watching this video, alright? Please. So, to start us off, I went ahead and prepped the base, which for the most part went off without a hitch. I could not get the head off on camera. I ended up bracing it with a towel against a table and like pulling with my full force. Almost knocked myself right onto the floor.
What in the world?
But we succeed. We prevailed. And then I just removed her like scalp paint, I don't know what it's called, and just repainted it over with black so we could go ahead and move on to plugging the hair. Which I've heard a lot of like doll customizers say that this is like their least favorite part because it's monotonous and boring, but I rather enjoyed it because it was monotonous and boring. I love repetitive tasks, what can I say? After doing the hair, I went ahead and set aside the face to do the face up and started working on the body modifications. Basically just sanding down the ears and then sanding down the vine details on the legs. I took her outside to sand down the legs, and I wore, you know, a face mask. Make sure to have the proper PPE if you're gonna be sanding plastic. We already get enough microplastics in our system. And this took me, I kid you not, 4 days. It took me 2 days per leg to sand this doll. I was just sitting there really for 2 days, longing for a Dremel. So I think, you know, with the holiday season coming up, if you have a crafter in your life, do them a favor and buy them a Dremel if you love them. By the end of the 4 days, the shining sun that was burning a hole through my eyelids gave me a massive headache, but again, you know, we prevail. The show must go on. Yeah. While I was lamenting my lack of Dremel, I decided to only do one of the legs on camera just because it was so hot outside that my phone was overheating. So, and you know, there's no need for you guys to watch 4 days worth of lack of Dremeling. Sanding, that's the word I'm looking for. There's no need for you guys to watch 4 days worth of sanding. There's a lot that needs to get done, so we can move on. And the next is the part that I am most excited about. I love doing the face up. I make the whole doll just to do the face up, really. I took reference from a couple of different things. Obviously, Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, a couple of different Broadway versions of Elphaba. Like I said in the beginning, the Broadway is going to infect this doll because I love Broadway too much for it not to. Fun fact on making this doll, I realized that my soft pastels that I have only have one shade of green, so I really had to do some, you know, magic to try and get the multiple different shades of green that I would need for this almost entirely green face-up. I toyed a little bit with the concept art to do brown eyes instead of green because a lot of the Broadway actresses had brown eyes. And I kind of wish I had gone with it, but when I asked my totally unbiased green-eyed father, he said that green was the way to go, so that's what I went with. Some of the different things that I took inspiration from is very much Cynthia Erivo's two-tone lip look. I enjoyed that a lot, so I'm doing my best to try and add that in here. I had to fight with my watercolor pencils a little bit to try and get it to actually show up pigmented. I do that in multiple different layers between multiple different sprays of MSC. And then of course, we add the blush and the contour. And some of the other inspiration that I took while coming up with the concept art is I saw that a lot of the Broadway versions had like really fun eyeshadow, and I wanted to include that. So I went ahead and tried to give her like an intense black and green smoky eye, just for funsies. And then I just finish up by adding some high gloss varnish to the lips and the irises. And with that, the face up is done, and I, for one, couldn't be happier. I, for one, couldn't be happier. I think it came out wonderful. Moving on to the clothes, I used the clothes the doll came with to try and make a paper pattern of the general silhouette that I wanted, and then I used that to make a mock-up, and then I used the mock-up to make another paper pattern, and then I just had the problem of finding fabric that looked anything like Elphaba's very textured clothing. And while I was mulling that over, my mom had the genius idea of reminding me that it was October and I could go and pick up a Halloween costume. So that's what I did, and I used the Halloween costume for the doll. And I think it turned out nice. And then it was just tons and tons of sewing and using my enemy, the sewing machine. The doll came with this really cute little corset that I wanted to use, so I cut off all of the leafy and vine bits and then painted it all black and purple to match the dress, and I think it works really well together. The only thing on the doll that maybe gave me any trouble was the hat. I've never made anything like that before, and so I looked up some tutorials, and some people were like using Worbla and EVA foam, and I didn't have Worbla. I tried to use my EVA foam. It was way too thick, and it was not wanting to curve on me like it should, and it took me ages to just give up and use felt, and the felt worked perfectly. I just used the pattern that I made for the foam and just used that on the felt, cut that out, and then I got to piecing it together and getting it all sewn up. Like I said, lots and lots of sewing in this project. There was a lot of extra accessories that needed to be made. Just sewing up the side and then putting together the top and the bottom like so. Sewing on the inside of this was a little obnoxious because the thread kept getting caught on all these pins, but I didn't want to remove the pins because then, it would be difficult to hold everything together. I managed to find the perfect ribbon I could have literally ever asked for this hat. I mean, just look at it. It's almost exactly like what the fabric of her hat looks like in the movie. I'm amazed. It has that ribbing on the side, so it got the kind of lines that her hat has. It was like perfect. It was made to make this hat, really. The felt worked great. And then probably the most important prop I could make for her, her broom. I started off with like a wooden dowel, and then I covered that in hot glue. Just trying to match the general texture of the broom and, you know, try to bring some key points where I can see them, like her little, like the little pointy bits that are at the end here. And, you know, trying to input the wood grain into it as much as I can. And then I just paint that all black once again. I'd go ahead and dry brush it in some browns to try and really bring out that wood grain texture. I'd go in with some darker browns first, and then I'd go in again with lighter browns to bring everything to the surface and really show off all the texture and the sort of gnarly look of her broom. To start off with the shoes, I took a cuticle cutter and just cut away as much of the detail as I could get off. So all of the vines and the spikes, and then I also cut the shoe down to size a little bit just because I didn't like the length with the dress. And then I'm going ahead and I'm gluing some scrap pieces of fabric that I have to the shoe just to cover up the rest of the factory mold. And also to give it a kind of like layered look to match Elphaba's shoe a little bit better. Covering up the rest of the details on this Venus shoe with some clay. I just put the clay and the cracks and crevices to try and cover up as much of the rest of the factory mold that I could, and just get the shoes looking as unified as possible. After that, it's just a matter of sanding it, and then I'm painting it black to match the rest of the shoe and the rest of the outfit. And with that, the doll is done. And I think she turned out wonderful. How many puns can I fit in my own? Isn't she wickedly awesome? Who could ever loathe her? They say no one mourns the wicked. I don't have a second one for that. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching. If you liked what you see, maybe you follow along, see what I come up with next. And if you like the editing style, leave a comment and tell my brother he did a great job. You know, I appreciate him doing this for me. Once again, if you love me, I mean if you love a crafter in your life, buy them a Dremel.